All right, everybody. Well, hey, we are honored to kick off our first speaker, our first expert at Note Camp 2020 here with our wonderful, as Linda Martin says, good morning, beautiful, our lovely Shante Duffy. This lady is the person that gets stuff done, GSD, or gets shit done in a lot of cases, at Madison Management. If you guys are boarding loans, if you're looking to get started with a servicer, this is the lady you're going to be talking to, and then she's going to hand it over to your asset manager, and once you get everything rocking along. But this is the lady who is highly underpaid. Let's just say that. Kevin can give me a hard time about that later. But this is the lady that I have to say is well known throughout the industry, has a huge heart, loves working with other note investors, but she is the workhorse who gets a lot of stuff done. Has helped Madison Management grow into the business that they are over the last 5-6 years. And it's really, you've probably seen her out at a few trade shows here and there in the past. Hopefully you'll see her in the future, different trade shows. But we're honored to have you join us here. And this is the fourth time you've spoken at Note Camp, Shante?
It's definitely more than third. It's probably the fourth. And I love it. So I wouldn't have missed it.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I got to get you scheduled. I know you've got your kid and your young son and everything like that too for around. But anyway, hey, we're honored to have you here. So you want to are we having a conversation? You got slides? What you got planned for everybody?
Let's start with some conversation, and then I'm going to see if I can kind of switch and share my screen a little bit to walk you guys through the website and the portal and just basic stuff that, lenders would need to know if you chose to go with Madison as your servicer.
Perfect. Now let's talk about a little bit here. For those that are brand new, people want to learn about why is a loan servicer needed? Why should somebody hire Madison Management? And we know why you should hire, because your service is great. But let's talk about what is a loan servicing and why is it so important in the industry?
So as a loan servicer, we are the company that keeps your loan in compliance. We follow state and federal regulations, but the most important thing is when your borrowers are making payments, you need to keep record of that. Who are they paying? How much are they paying? What was it applied to? Principal, interest, escrow, whatever the case may be, unpaid charges, late fees. We keep track of all that. So we process every and all payments that your borrowers will ever make while you maintain servicing with Madison. You as a lender should always have record of that. Borrowers dispute things all the time. Hey, I already paid you for those 4 months. No, you didn't. No payment was ever received. You need track and to make sure that your unpaid principal balance is correct. If you accept payments on your own and you don't have, servicing software yourself, it's kind of hard to track that. The software itself that we use and most other servicers use keeps track of that for you. Make sure the right charges are being added. If the borrower is late, whatever their penalty charge is, that's updated. If you guys as lenders pay out taxes or insurance, the advances that you pay, you deserve to get that back. It's written out in your contracts and in your notes. You need to track all of that. So all the numbers in regards to your notes, that's kind of what we keep track of for you as the main part of servicing.
Right. Now, but also a lot of states, they want you to have a license of some sort, a debt collector's license or, a mortgage broker's license of some sort. Let's talk about the licensing requirements and why, in a lot of cases, having your servicer license in the state solves those issues. Not in all the cases, but in a lot of the cases, right?
So as a servicer, we are obligated, and at this point, most states, these states do things on their own. It would make life easy if they were just, universal across the board, but they're not. Each state has their own licensing requirements. Us as a servicer, we need to be licensed as a servicer. We're the company that's processing payments, sending out statements, late notices, and things like that. With a servicing license, though, it does not necessarily protect any of you guys as lenders. So there are some states that require you guys as the note investors, as the lenders, to be licensed as a lender, as a debt buyer. You don't necessarily need the servicing license because you're not actually servicing the loan. But for you just to own that note, there are states that do require that. That is something that I highly recommend everyone just double checks with the NMLS. I've been trying to put together a list, but these things are forever changing.
Yep. One quick second. Let's not, somebody's going to go back. What? The MLS or the NMLS?
NMLS. That is where you can see the entire country, break down, drill down to each state, and what each state requires of you being a lender. If you have to be licensed, if you're exempt, what do you have to be licensed as? Is it just a registration? You can contact each state's Department of Financial and Banking, team, and you can actually pick up the phone call, send them an email, and just say, hey, look, I'm thinking about purchasing notes in the state of Georgia. What do I need to do as a lender? Georgia is one of those states that requires you to be licensed as a lender. North Carolina as well. Some states have exemptions. Some states you don't have to be licensed as a lender at all, but they have a servicing license that we have to follow. And some states like Illinois requires you to just be registered as a debt buyer. They also have the applications and the process as to what it would take. These processes are not as simple as I may be making them sound. They are a nightmare. They are tough. That is one thing that I don't actually handle here at Madison. Most servicers don't, but definitely, contact each state individually, especially if you're going to buy bulk in one state. I have a lot of lenders who specifically like to buy in the state of Georgia because they went through the hoops of getting licensed there. So that's kind of their forte and where they want to be. But it's best to just kind of double check, contact the state if you're not sure. Some states, if you have more than 5 loans, you have to be licensed, while some states are like, if you only have 1 loan in this state, it doesn't require it. There's exemptions, but it is costly, and licenses do require renewals. Most of them are annually. So definitely check. And if you're genuinely just not sure, give them a call. It's online available. The application's available online as well, but it's per state. So once you do one, it doesn't cover you for all 50 states. So be kind of mindful of that. I know some lenders who purposely will not buy in certain states just because the licensings. I'm gonna type this in this chat box just so you guys know. Just check the NMLS and just look under state licensing. It's one of the options up there. It's free to look. It's, you don't have to pay for anything. Just do your research, ask some questions and things like that. But it's very important because I've seen in the past 7 years that I've been in this industry that lenders who are not licensed and have some very savvy borrowers who have enough money to pay for an attorney, but not enough money to pay their mortgage. And they end up fighting through the fact that their lender is not licensed, and lenders end up getting sued. And it becomes a big mess, and financially, you guys lose out on money. So always cover your back. Always make sure, if you're not sure, ask me. I'll at least point you in the right direction. I don't have all the answers for the NMLS. It's just not who I work for, but I can at least guide you and walk you through and tell you what to do if you're not sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is a lot of states you're covered in that, but that you should always check. Like Georgia, they do want you to be that licensed mortgage broker, even if you're buying one. The only exception being if you're using your buying to sell your self-directed IRA. Now, somebody asked the other day in the WCN Facebook group about getting a bond. You're gonna need to get a surety bond there.
I saw that. Most licenses require surety bonds, just so you guys know. Registrations usually don't, but licenses do.
Yeah, exactly. And then Kentucky wants you to have $1 million bond. Basically, they're a little bit strict. It's one of the states I don't buy in because it's very strict that way. Yep. New York, New Jersey, you gotta. That's you get long foreclosure timeframes and a lot of legislation in that neck of the woods too for you. So, and then you also have states. Ohio has kind of a weird licensing that gets popped up, and I think a lot of people aren't clear. Like, are you familiar enough with that to talk about kind of what
Ohio was fairly new, and I'm still not even 100% sure. I think it also depends on like what you're buying. There's like a minimum, like it's kind of, Ohio is definitely one of the messier states that isn't very clear and fairly new in regards to licensing requirements as of the last like 2 years. It wasn't always required, and that's the thing. These states keep updating. They keep changing things for whatever reason. They all have their reasons, whether we agree with them or not. I would honestly, I get to a point where I've had to call sometimes, even as a servicer. New Jersey didn't always have a servicing license, but we came up with within this past year. So of course we had to go get that. Before then, we weren't required. So the states sometimes require servicers, sometimes require lenders. Back and forth. So my best word of advice is to just double check, call, ask as many questions, annoy the living daylights out of them. Just protect yourself before anything else.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about some of the services that you guys provide there at Madison. Let's talk about let's kind of take it from, let's talk from kind of the getting go. When somebody's looking at buying a note, and let's talk about the first types of debt that you guys do service, the type of loans that you do take care of. Are we talking just residential or commercial or all types, or what's the full gamut of
We have a
loans
little bit of both. Majority of what we service is residential, but we do have a few commercial notes that lenders who have residential notes kind of transferred over into the commercial space, and they choose to have Madison service those as well. We don't have many of them. You know, commercial notes follow a little bit of different rules. Nothing drastic, it's almost a little bit easier in certain aspects. But for majority, we service commercial or residential notes. We service notes that are traditional, you know, note and mortgage or deed of trust. I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with land contracts, contract for deeds, agreement for deeds. We service those as well. Those have been pretty hot these past almost 3 years now. I remember 3 years ago, I was like, what is this? Because I had never seen them before. So those have been pretty popular in the past few years. We service senior liens and junior liens, whether it's first, second, third, fourth, whatever the case may be. We don't touch student debt. We don't touch cars. We thought about it, but just not in our specialties actually in residential. So we service all of that. Performing, which means that the borrowers are paying, or non-performing, which means they're not, and we either try to get them to pay or we take the legal route if needed. We kind of have a variety of services that we offer, you know, from start to finish, and stuff that kind of fits most of our, you know, note space investors and their needs. The most basic and easiest servicing program that, of course, we want everybody to be in is our performing loan servicing program. Under that servicing program, that means that your borrowers are paying. That means every single month they're making their monthly payment. It's kind of, no one's really got to touch it. Keep accepting those payments. You guys get direct deposits or checks sent out to you, and you should be smooth sailing. The loans are still assigned to an asset manager here with Madison. So I actually assign these loans to somebody on my team. And they're kind of in charge of just making sure that that borrower continues to make payments. If they have any questions, concerns, if they're late, that we reach out to them, try to set them up on ACH. Therefore, it's kind of mindless and payments just keep coming in. They become that point of contact for your borrower as well as you guys being the lender. So no, I will not be communicating with your borrowers ever at all. That is just not what I do. I'd rather work with you guys and help you on the back end of stuff. Performing loans, pretty simple. There's $20 monthly servicing fee per month for the loan. That does not include if there's escrow services. Escrow is where we collect additional funds for taxes and or insurance that the borrower needs to pay on top of their regular monthly P&I payment. If it's a special type of loan, and what I mean by a special type of loan is if it's an adjustable rate mortgage or a home equity line of credit. Those require a little bit more work on the back end. Yes, the borrower still can be paying, but when things are based off of their interest rates changing every 6 months or every time the prime rate adjusts, that costs a little bit more each month because we have to maintain that to make sure that you're in compliance of your actual note on that loan. So that's about an extra $5 a month for each loan that's like that. Most lenders, you know, you'll see home equity lines of credits if you're buying junior liens more than anything. I don't see too many ARMs these days, but that's just something that you guys should know. Performing, we do report to TransUnion for every borrower unless that borrower who took out the note is not a person with a social security number. So if your borrower is ABC LLC and they just bought it under a company, no, they have an EIN number. We're not reporting that to TransUnion. That is the only credit reporting agency that we report to currently. We also handle all the tax reporting, and that's included in the service as well. So for every interest payment that the borrower makes at the end of the year, they get a 1098 tax form. They take that and file their taxes with it. You guys as lenders, for all the interest that you've received from your borrower's payments, will get a 1099 tax form. Again, it's at no additional cost. We are required to do this for you, and therefore you don't have to track it. But it is a requirement. So if you ever hear someone who's like, no, self-service it, be prepared that if any of your borrower's payments are supposed to good interest, you better know how to, you know, break up those payments and calculate them and make sure that's reported correctly. So we handle all of that in performing loans. We just want to see borrowers pay and keep it moving and smooth and everything like that. Of course, not all scenarios are that beautiful and perfect as much as we want them to be. So we also deal with non-performing loans. And the number one servicing program specifically for you new guys. I don't want to single people out, but I just want to be sure that you guys understand the difference. We have a servicing program called full collection servicing. This servicing program is a $95 monthly servicing fee. If your borrower is not paying, you should not have an escrow account set up. That kind of means that if they're not paying their mortgage, there's no way that they're really paying their taxes and or insurance, which unfortunately means that you guys as lenders should kind of keep an eye on that. You don't want to lose your note to a tax sale. You don't want to lose that property. They will wipe you out. I don't care if you're in first position. They supersede everything. So just keep an eye on those taxes. Unfortunately, part of the risk of buying a non-performing loan is that you may have to advance those funds. Again, you don't want to lose your investment. Under this servicing program, the loan is assigned to an asset manager, but they do things a little bit differently on these. The loan is boarded, they kind of review everything that's coming in, but they're going to reach out to you. This is your investment, so this is very important. They're going to ask you what options you would like to make available for your borrower before we even talk to your borrower, unless your borrower calls in beforehand. But we want to know what your intentions are as a lender. What do you want to do? We have some lenders who are like, look, I've sat in this loan, I've had it for forever, I just need to take legal action. Great. We'll help you with that, with the foreclosure coordination or evictions or whatever the case may be. There are some lenders who are like, I have no idea. It's been sitting with the servicer and no one's called this borrower in 2 years. Let's find out their intentions first, and then we'll kind of narrow them down. We have some lenders who are very strict and they're like, nope, we're not going to accept anything other than a full reinstatement, or they better modify, or there's a few different options. You can put them on a modification, put them on a forbearance agreement, you can put them on a trial payment plan to try to get them to be reperforming. We will handle that for you. So we want to know what options you would like to make available. Your asset managers will walk you through what options you have so that you're not just flying blind. If you're genuinely not sure, that's perfectly fine. We like to kind of help the newer investors a little bit more, kind of get their feet wet and help them understand. But please remember, this is your investment, not mine and not my team's. So if we don't hear from you, if you do not respond, our hands are tied. This is your money, or someone else's money, your JV partner, whatever the case may be. You have to stay in communication with us. Yes, we will reach out to you, but we need to hear from you as well. We need you to kind of stay up on your emails a little bit, because that's a big way that we communicate with everybody. It's written, it's documented. We have something to go back and refer to. Of course, if you want us to call you, we'll obviously call you, call in, but we like to recap everything with an email so we don't forget. We have a couple hundred active investors right now. So you're not the only investor that these asset managers are also going to be working with. So you can't bombard them too much, which is why we always say emails. They're not going to call you every 5 seconds or every time they spoke to the borrower. There's a lot of things that just have to go on before we even, spend time with you guys. And I know for everybody, this isn't their full-time job. So that you guys do have lives outside of note investing. So it's very important that you stay in communication with us, and we'll work out all of the loss mitigation with that borrower. So we're the ones that actually end up calling. We call, hey, John Smith, what's going on? You haven't paid since 2018. What's the reason? Are you still on the property? What are your intentions? We will always ask the borrower their intentions first before we offer them your options. There are some borrowers who don't live in the property, just want to walk away. Let's get them to sign it back to you guys instead of going through the entire legal route, which takes more time and costs more money. We're not out here trying to get you guys to spend too much money on these. We know they're also not super cheap. So we'll help you with that. We handle all of that. You have access to a portal where you can see everything as well. All the communication, we document. Every letter we send to the borrower, we document as well. You can see attachments to that. The other servicing program, which is not my favorite, and people who have heard me speak before, they all know that it's not my favorite, and I will explain to you why. Our third options are no collection servicing program. What this program is, and a lot of lenders use this when their loans are non-performing, but they're having a third party handle their loss mitigation and borrower outreach. Now, as long as you have a reputable third party handling it, I don't mind. But I do not advise any new investor to contact their borrowers on their own. I've seen way too many people get sued because there are regulations and rules that you need to follow. We are all trained in fair debt collection practices. So some of it seems very common sense. No, you should not be harassing your borrower. Don't curse them off and stuff like that. But we verify who we're speaking to every time we talk to them when we talk to these borrowers. We don't want someone to pretend and say, oh yeah, I'm Scott Carson, and then us give them all this information on a loan that has nothing to do with them. That's, a lot of that's private information. It's not public knowledge and things like that. Some people, the big thing with the buffer of a servicer in the sense of a non-performing loan is this is your investment. There is an attachment there. It is your money. So naturally, when things aren't working out in your favor or whatever the case may be, there is emotion there. We as a middleman cut that emotion out. It's very easy when a borrower is like, oh, I'm only going to spend $100. That would naturally upset almost any lender. No, you can't do that. We're that buffer. We don't necessarily have an emotional tie to this loan, to this note, to getting money from it because it's not our investment. No collections. We just kind of send out statements, late notices, process payments unless you tell us not to. So if your loan is non-performing and you're taking legal action and you are working with an attorney, you better let me know, because if a payment comes in and we accept that payment, specifically like Texas, because this is where I see it happen all the time, we process that payment because we're not told anything other than that. We completely stopped your foreclosure and it completely has to reset. So you're out money. It's double the work for the attorney that you're working with. You have to now reset your time frame. It's not worth it. So if you're working with legal counsel to handle some legal action, foreclosures, let me know so that we don't accept anything less than the full reinstatement or less than the full payoff. If the borrower sends their monthly payment but they're 2 years behind, we're still going to apply it unless you tell us not to. I need to be able to flag that account so that we know if the borrower won't be able to make a payment online. And if they send in a check or a money order, if they call in, my team knows we're not processing this payment because it's illegal, and we'll direct them to contact you or your attorney, whichever you tell us to do. No collections, a $40 monthly servicing fee. That is higher than our performing fee. I get a lot of the question, well, how is it so much higher if you guys aren't doing anything? You guys are the biggest liabilities to us. We have no idea what's going on in these loans. I have some lenders who are like, hey, Shante, this is what's going on. My attorney sent out this demand letter. I love those. I can note all those accounts, but I don't get that from every lender. So the biggest liability, no collections is not available from Madison in the state of North Carolina. We recently, as a licensed servicer, we get audited by the states randomly that we are licensed in. North Carolina is probably one of the hardest states I've ever had to work with. I now understand why other servicers are not licensed there. They are sticklers, which granted, at the end of the day, makes us just want to be better all around. So, but they're tough. We had a whole bunch of lenders who had North Carolina notes. They were under our no collections, or also known as client managed servicing program. We were in violation of North Carolina regulations because as the servicer, we should have all communication with the borrower. We're the servicer, that's what we do. In the eyes of North Carolina, we had nothing. We had the statements we send out, late notices, payment histories. I have no idea how you got to the terms of your loan modification, though. I don't know how far in your legal process you're in. So unfortunately, and this is new as of January 2020, this is something that we just learned. We are not offering that servicing program in North Carolina. So if you have a non-performing loan in the state of North Carolina that you want service, it's going to be under full collections until that loan becomes performing. We have to manage every side of that loan.
I love that. Now let's talk about something here. Performing. Are we talking about, does somebody have to pay, does the borrower have to pay 12 months on time to be considered performing on Madison's platform?
No. So what makes us a little bit different, granted, the borrower needs to be paying at least 3 consecutive monthly payments. I don't want to see that they made a lump sum payment in, May, and then they're not going to pay again until August. That's not 3 consecutive months. I need to know that they paid April, they paid May, and now they just paid June. That's what's considered performing. But they do not have to be contractually current. So there are borrowers who are on forbearance agreements, which do not bring their due date to be a current date, which at this point, July 1st, 2020. Your borrower could be paying for the past 12 months, but their payment due date, their contractual next due date is actually for 2019. I'm not going to charge you full collection servicing because the borrower at some point in the past fell off making their payments, and now they're just, paying monthly. They do not have to be due for this current month. They don't have to be due for July 1st or June 15th. As long as they are paying consistently, you are getting, the loan can be boarded as a performing loan. We just want to see payments coming in. Of course, we'll ask the borrower, find a way if they can catch up to bring them contractually current, because at the end of the day, they are getting reported to credit. They are also accruing late charges. So when you're paying on a 2019 due date for 2020, there's still, about 12 months of late charges sitting there. So we do try to let them know and try to figure something out so that they're not that far behind, but you as a lender, we're going to treat it as a performing loan because they're paying.
Great stuff. Now let's talk about, you talk about conversations and phone calls. And most investors should not be, you've said this before, I'm going to say it one more time. Most investors should not be talking to their borrowers themselves unless they got a lot of experience or they've got a team. I'm very blessed, lots of experience, and I've got a really great team member.
Yes, you
who
do.
does a great job. You know her really well. Okay?
Yes, I do.
She does a great job. Could not do what we do without her. And she's on here watching. Hazel, we love you.
Girl. She's one of my best friends, so.
Oh, even better. I knew you guys were close. I didn't know it was that close. But that's awesome. But the point of the matter being is we get a lot of people like, oh, I want to be involved in those phone calls. And there's no rhyme or reason. Scheduling a borrower to get on a conversation is not easy at all, right? People flake, or they take forever to sign an agreement and get it back, or they call it all odd hours, or especially if they're communicating with the investor and then the servicer. We know stories will change and they'll play the two against each other, right, Shante?
Yeah, it's a lovely game of telephone, which is why, my team, I'm not going to lie to you guys, we do get upset when we find out when the borrower calls us and, oh, well, I spoke to my lender. Well, wait a minute. You push us out of compliance, number one. We have no idea what you said to that borrower, number two. So when we're already working on something, it looks like we don't have our act together and that you and I don't communicate when you technically hired our company. So we really, we all kind of get a little bothered because we just don't know what's going on. And then what happens is we start to build that relationship with that borrower, but then when the lender comes in, and the lender you might just have a soft heart that day. And you know what? That's fine. I'm going to accept this. We don't know that. And then when we're trying to enforce what you guys told us to share with the borrower, it just becomes really messy. It becomes a nightmare, it becomes a headache, because then we spend more time as to, well, now we have to call the lender. What did you tell this borrower? Because you guys don't let us know that naturally. And I understand both sides of it, but it doesn't help us do our job correctly. So we advise not to. Granted, there are some borrowers that if you really feel like you need to be on the phone with your borrower, most lenders don't want the borrowers to know who they are. If you really feel like you need to be on the phone with your borrower, ask your asset manager, hey, can we do a conference call? And yeah, it might take a little bit to set up that call, but at least we're there and we can hear, mediate, and document. We have to have all that information documented. So I don't advise to do that.
Yeah. Now let's talk a little bit, bring it on, unless there's questions about that from anybody out here. And I encourage you guys all to ask questions as you're going through this. Alex says, okay, so to be clear, the licensing requirement is from the state of the property, not the state the lender is in. Exactly, Alex. Yeah.
That's
it's
correct.
the state that the property is in. The borrower might be in a different state, all right, but it's the state of the property. That's why it's foreclosure here in Texas is fast. We do everything fast here. Boom, 21 days. But in New York, it could take 2 years, 3 years in some cases. All right, so It's always where the property is located and going from there. And the asset class is different. Like you mentioned before, in contract for deeds, land contracts can vary on a foreclosure time frame from state to state. In some states, that's a eviction process versus a foreclosure process. States like Florida, if it's a land contract there, they treat that as a normal foreclosure process. So you need to know what's going on in that state. This is why I always tell people, start off with 2 or 3 states to start off with, so you get the idea of what's going on, then add another state. Bob asked a great question here. Bob Glasser asks, do you need a servicer for owner finance notes?
I highly suggest it. My rule of thumb is you need a servicer for any note. Don't get yourself pushed in this wildfire of a situation. Your borrower may be paying for the next 3 years perfectly fine on a seller finance note. They fall off, it becomes messy. I've been dealing with a lot of recently seller financed lenders. So I just advise you just need a servicer at all times. I would not, me personally, I would never sit and not have a servicer. Let them handle the dirty stuff. You know, you just need to sit back and collect the payment. Let them handle that and take that brunt of it. If you don't follow, you know, seller finance note, you still need to send them statements. You're not excluded from that. You still have to follow regulations. It's a note at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
let your servicer handle that.
Well, and that's another thing too, whether it's your own asset, if you have a third party servicer, it actually adds to the value of that paper. If you're trying to sell that note at a later date, we see that a lot. People originate, they get excited about owner financing, and then like 6 and 12 months, like, oh, I need to sell this note. I can't hold on to it for a while. Well, if you've been self-servicing collecting, you're not been keeping track records or no documentation, you know, that really lowers the value, because then for a note buyer like me to come in and evaluate the paper, I can't get all my answers in one spot by calling Madison and then send me over a spreadsheet and see everything's good and clean. What? I got to take a scanned copy of this money order that you have somewhere and realize and double check your bank accounts. Nobody wants to disclose their bank accounts. So using a servicer will, as you say, take a lot of the headache off and help you document. Now, yes, we know some people are financing things. You know, if it's performing, great, $20. But if it turns into non-performing, yeah, it's 90. You got to make sure that you've got that figured in there. But we all know people's like, oh, I'm only going to invest in performing notes. Well, let's just say we all know performing is going to end up at non-performing at some point, right, Shante? Just look what's going on in the world these days, yeah?
Exactly. It's been like that these past few months.
Exactly. Great question, Bob. Maria asked a question. Things are a little bit different right now with forbearance due to COVID-19. Would that affect their credit or hold things a little bit on borrowers' benefit? I'm not sure what that little part.
So with COVID-19, what we're doing, just so you guys know, I know that there have been, you know, laws passed that got to be put up for banks or whatever the case may be. Unless you are buying a federally backed loan, which in our space, we're not federally backed. That forbearance thing is mandatory for those loans. They're not mandatory for the loans that you guys are all looking at right now. We are in the secondary market of this, you know, note space. So we still, as a servicer, you know, borrowers across, I live in New Jersey, so COVID's pretty bad here. We have been talking to our lenders, and they've been asking like, hey, what can we do? A lot of our lenders have actually deferred, not created brand new agreements, deferred payments, because you guys are all seeing it. It's nationwide. It's not just in one little cluster area, where borrowers aren't making, you know, they're not working. They didn't get unemployment because that's super backed up. That lenders are, look, they can't pay for May and June. They can't pay for April and May. Push 2 payments, push 3 payments. So at no cost to anybody, because we don't want the borrower to be penalized for not making those payments, especially when you guys are kind of deferring them. You're not forgiving them. What you're doing is actually pushing it to the end of the loan. So when you say, hey, defer these payments, they're not just wiped out for life. At the end of at the date of maturity, they may actually have a balloon payment where it'll be anything that's outstanding, including 2-3 months that you deferred. It's up to you guys though. We're not doing it automatically. I've definitely had some lenders who are like, well, I don't care. It's your choice. We get the sob stories, we hear about it. Some lenders have also incentivized the borrower that, yeah, okay, if you can make your payment instead of just deferring it, they'll forgive the payment or, you know, do something. So it's up to you guys to decide what you want to do. When it comes to credit, we did not report for the month of April and May right now. We will be, but because everything was happening so quickly, we wanted to make sure these lenders had enough time to tell us what they wanted to do. We don't want these borrowers to get dinged, and then because we have to then go back and fight with TransUnion and fight it. So we did not send in credit reporting for April and for May. We have not, also because we're legally not supposed to at this time, sending late notices during this COVID. So granted, the borrowers, if they're late, they're late. Some borrowers are not contractually current either. So no matter what, you were late before then. But it's not hitting their credit negatively because we're just not reporting it. We have not reported it yet. We want to make sure that all these loans kind of get together. Some borrowers were able to pay April and then all of a sudden lost their job at the end of April, middle of April, and then May and June they can't pay. I had a lot of lenders who deferred till June. Here came June. We didn't think it would last this long, and they had to, push it out another month or two just because they understand. So it's up to you guys. Your borrowers call in. They say, hey, I can't make my payment. We ask them about it. Is it due to COVID? We want to hear them say that. before, because then we'll turn around and, hey, guys, she can't make this payment today, or she can't make her payment this month. She's waiting on unemployment. I personally know from friends and family, their unemployment in New Jersey is completely just, I don't know. People have been claiming weeks for certifying their benefits for 10 weeks and still haven't gotten paid. So we understand everything is just kind of at a halt. Foreclosures aren't really being processed. Some states recently, as of June 1st, started to finalize things like that, but not everywhere. So it doesn't necessarily negatively affect them. And we're also making sure that it doesn't negatively affect you guys as lenders when it comes to your servicing fees. When you have a performing loan and we have to defer 2 payments, we don't want you guys to be charged a non-performing servicing fee when you're doing the borrower a favor due to what's going on. So we are flagging these loans as COVID-19 related, so that with the invoicing, you guys aren't charged. So
It's awesome.
Charged excessively.
But that's, the world works well if everybody kind of realizes we've all got to kind of kick the can down a little bit. We've all got to take a bit of a bite of the sandwich and try to make the best of it. You know? And that's the people. Maria says, great info. Thank you, Shante. Mike asked a question here. Can lenders like us log into our portal or your portal and review status and any comments about our notes being serviced by you?
Yes, you can. That is what we actually push you to do. I don't want you to have to feel like you have to call every day, because if you call me every day about a loan, so is every other lender.
And then you're not going to answer the phone though, too.
Yeah, I already hide from my phone enough. It's always ringing. It's actually rang like 10 times since I've been doing this. So we want you guys to be proactive in your loan. And the only way for us to do that is by building you a portal to look. You shouldn't have to ever call us. Did my borrower make a payment? You can see the payment history. You can see if they called that payment in. You can see if we called them. You can see exactly how it was applied. We don't want you calling us for that. You should be able to know what's going on. If you have a question though, pick up the phone, call, send us an email. But little things like that, did they make their payment? What's the balance today? That stuff is all available for you at any given point of the day. So if you're up in the middle of the night, like, this borrower hadn't made their payment, she said she was going to be late last time I looked, you can check. We prefer that you check. So we actually push you guys to that. And it's easier for you to see, and then for you don't have to, ask, you're not waiting at the same time. You're not waiting for us to respond to you. There is that 48-hour turnaround time that you have to kind of allow all of us to respond to you. Because again, everyone gets bombarded with emails and things like that. And just think of it, if you're asking that question, how many other lenders potentially could be asking that question as well? So your borrowers also have a portal, just so you know. They see everything but the call logs and notes. So they see the same thing you see, just their specific loan, their loan details, their loan balance, their next due date, their payment history. And you guys have a call log section where you see all the notes that we document. The borrower has a make a payment option, so they can make their payments online. We should have no excuse as to why a borrower can't make a payment. None. So we give them a few different options, like paying online, sending in a check or a money order, calling their payment in, or signing up on ACH. There really is no excuse as to why a borrower can't make a payment. So, and copies of statements, late notices, all of that stuff there as well.
Yeah, that's a great thing. The collateral file is there for you to be able to take a look at too, as well, correct?
No, not right now.
Okay.
That is something we are actually, to be a little sidebar, we are trying to actually update our portal. So what you're used to looking at right now, we're trying to make sure that it's better and completely, I think, changing everything. So we have a new portal that we use in-house that we're looking at as well. So we kind of want you guys to see that side. So of course, Kevin's working on that so that it is cleaner, it is clearer, and everything is there. And at that point, you'll be able to see those images because they'll be uploaded through our system, which is why we also requested, because that's something I'm doing on the back end in our actual software here. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that the most important thing is for us to get a copy of the collateral file over you guys, so you can see what's going on. You can see the actual details of the note and the mortgage and stuff like that, or any forbearance agreements that have been agreed from either with us, identifying them or the previous lender. Now let's talk a little bit about the boarding process, because I think a lot of people think it happens instantaneous. I buy a note.
It does not.
let's go through a little bit of that time frame, and maybe because I know I've had people call me like, oh my God, what's going on in Madison? I'm like, wait a second, who'd you buy it from? I bought it from this person. I go, well, the reason it hasn't showed up yet is because it's not Madison. It's because of blank servicer probably hasn't transferred it over to. So let's talk about that time frame, timing, and what people should expect and things they can do to maybe make it easier for you and go from there.
In a perfect world, you as a lender need to make sure first and foremost, you have, however you're buying your notes, whether it's an IRA, an LLC, I don't advise you to buy anything under your first and last name, but it happens, that you have that account set up with us. That is where I come into play. That is your first interaction with me. You have to sit and, email me, call me, Shante, I'm thinking about purchasing some notes. You don't even have to have notes. You don't have to have any bids out there. You can say, well, I just want to set up now, so I don't have to worry about it down the road. That you're interested in buying notes, you're thinking about performing, non-performing, or you're not sure what you're thinking about, but you know that you're going to have some notes and you know you want them serviced by us. I'm going to make you fill out a servicing agreement, at least one, and a W-9 at the very, very least. This is what gets your account set up with me. This is what I set up in our system to allow us to service for you. Without those two items, forget about it. It's not happening. It's just paperwork. It takes maybe 20, 30 minutes out of your time. And that's if you actually read the entire servicing agreement. My advice to you, please read it. A lot of people don't. I understand why it's lengthy, but just read it so you understand what we actually do. Therefore, it kind of eliminates a lot of questions down the road. So complete that, submit it back into me. Let's get you set up. Let's get you rocking and rolling. Now, let's say you purchase a note. You just bought it, you just funded your deal yesterday. With funding your deal, your seller, your broker, whoever you're dealing with should be asking you, who is going to be servicing this note? You need to have your servicer outlined to them. So you would sit and say, I'm gonna have Madison Management service my note, and the point of contact there is Shante Duffy, and here's her email and her phone number, figure it out. What happens then, you have now notified your seller, your broker. What they should be doing is notifying their current servicer. The loan might not be with Madison. Some cases it is, a lot of cases it's not. They need to turn around and notify their current servicer. So whoever's servicing for your seller and say, hey, I sold this loan and it needs to be transferred to Madison. That is why you're giving them that information. At the same time, you are now telling me, Shante, I bought a note and it's coming to you. I am going to make you fill out, this is fairly new, it's now mandated of us after a few audits, a servicing intake form. That is a form that just says, hey, I'm gonna, board this loan under ABC LLC. I'm the point of contact for it. This is the borrower's name. This is the property address. And you're gonna outline, is the loan performing, non-performing, and needs to be under full collections, or non-performing and under no collections. You're then gonna outline if it's a conventional loan where it's got a mortgage or a deed of trust tied to it. Is it a HELOC? Is it an adjustable rate? Is it a land contract, CFD, agreement for deed? They have a billion different names. You're also going to outline if it's a first lien or a junior lien. You have to send this to me. It's a basis. So I know it's a pain in the butt for larger pools of notes. I send you a spreadsheet to complete instead of that form for every loan. You're gonna let me know if there's an underlying mortgage on that note. We've been dealing with a lot of wraparound notes lately, which is fine, but there's requirements of us if it's a wrap. So we need to know that as well. And you're gonna let me know if this loan requires escrow services. Is it just taxes? Is it insurance? Is it both? Are you gonna need force place insurance? Maybe there's force place insurance on it currently, and you're gonna wanna pick it back up. There's CFPB regulations that we have to follow if you're gonna set up with us. And then if the loan's in an active foreclosure already, and if the loan's in bankruptcy, a chapter 7 or 13, just let us know. You're gonna send me that, and you're gonna send me digital copies of the collateral file. You should have a copy of that doing your due diligence before you actually purchase your note. Do not rely on these other servicers to send me that. Send it to me the moment you fund your deal. Yes, it may take a few weeks for this new servicer to begin the transfer, or the old servicer to begin the transfer process, but at least I know what's coming. I need to know that I cannot board a loan without that servicing intake form anymore. Now, if your seller was timely and notified their servicer and made sure everything was closed out on that loan to begin the transfer, they would have reached out to me and said, hey, Shante, we have a transfer coming over for, Scott Carson. Does June 25th work as a transfer date for you? I turn around and I say yes or no. I'm never going to really approve a transfer date that's not on a Monday through Friday, just so you guys know, because we're not open on weekends. So I'm going to tell them yes. They're going to then send me a goodbye letter. I have to approve that goodbye letter. That goodbye letter is a letter that just notifies the borrower that their loan is being service transferred from servicer A to Madison Management on the effective transfer date of June 25th. Once I approve that goodbye letter, they mail that letter to the borrower. They also then send me the loan data. So that includes the borrower's information, such as their name, mailing address, phone numbers, social security numbers, as well as the loan side, which is the original loan balance, UPB, interest rate, first due date, next due date, maturity date, and all of that. At that point, I have the collateral file that you provided to me, as well as the loan data. That is what I need to board a loan, to make sure that we have all the information, to verify that information, and make sure that it's correct. As long as all of that is there, we have everything that we need, we will then create an invoice for the boarding. There's always going to be a setup fee at majority of servicers that I've crossed paths with. That is the cost of their time to sit and review everything that you provided to them and to get it in their system. So our boarding fee is $40 base per loan. Of course, if you buy, board loans in bulk, 10 or more, that number goes down, and you guys will have some fun stuff in a little while to see some, discount for you guys specifically. Once your boarding fee is paid, at that point, I am notified, and then I can board your loan, which is why it is important to make sure that you either set up an ACH or you pay attention to that email from my accounting team. I cannot board a loan without you paying for it. So once it's paid, I get notified, and within about 24 to 48 hours that it's been paid, your loan is actually in our system. I am generating a hello letter to be mailed to the borrower, which matches the goodbye letter. And that just tells them, hey, your loan's being transferred to Madison. It gives them everything, who we are, what we do, how they can make payments. It's a 6-page letter. We send them a fee schedule that, borrowers could be charged for, depending on certain states and things like that. It is mandated to send them that. And our privacy policy that gets attached as well. You then get an email from me letting you know that I boarded your loan and when the hello letter will be sent out or has been sent out. I do this usually all within a day. And you get that email, and we assign it a loan number, each loan. And then if your loan is assigned to an asset manager, it tells you who it's assigned to. Naturally, I've gotten this down recently to start to finish, from a goodbye letter that I received to just getting the invoice out. I've gotten it down to 5 days, within 5 days. That's if I have everything. If you're going to piecemeal me things, you're going to add time. Of course, other servicers, we all have a closeout process, each one of us. Madison will not transfer a loan until we confirm that all of your outstanding invoices are paid, the deboarding fee is paid. There's steps that every servicer takes. So I like to tell people 30 to 45 days, start to finish, from when you fund a loan maximum to when the loan's boarded with Madison. But there are a lot of hiccups in that road. And it can fall on your seller, it can fall on that servicer, it could fall on you not providing me what I need. So in a perfect world, it doesn't actually take that long, but there's a lot of moving parts that are not solely on you or solely on me. And that's the part where a lot of lenders, rightfully so, get frustrated, but it's the hardest to understand. That it's not me not doing it, it's the fact that I don't have the ability, and I will not reach out to another servicer and say, oh, this loan's supposed to transfer to Madison from you for Scott. I will not do that. That is not, I have no authority over that loan. None. It's not mine. I didn't own it with that servicer. I don't have the right to do that. So you asking me to reach out to them, that's not going to happen. I realize a lot of people are like, well, can you call? I don't even know who the servicer is half the time until I get the goodbye letter. You have to stay on top of your sellers. That is my number one rule of advice. Everyone who calls and says, Shante, I feel bad. I had this, a few lenders that funded deals in March, got me the collateral, got me the servicing intake form. They only just got boarded today because their seller had dropped the ball. They dropped the ball, or they notified their servicer to transfer to the wrong servicer. So for 2 months, we had no idea where this loan was. You guys have to just I know it's scary. I know it's intimidating. I know you might feel like you're coming off as annoying. Stay on top of your sellers as much as you can. Until you hear from me, I have this, I just now need to review it. Then you can calm down for a little bit, but stay on top of them, because just because you funded it yesterday does not mean today I have a goodbye letter. Doesn't mean that at all.
And that's true too. and other servicers aren't going to release loans to a new servicer unless all the fees have been paid on that loan too. We ran into that when I was buying a couple portfolios last year. We leave the names unsaid out there. We'll protect the non-innocent. But I'm like, where are we got 70 loans. And I'm like, oh yeah, so-and-so hasn't paid their servicing bills. I'm like, oh, so then I'd have a come to Jesus meeting with the seller. Like, listen, take care of your bills so that we can transfer loans over so that we can get these things boarded and rock and rolling, or give me a refund and some fees. So got a question from Wesley Williams. He goes, because when you do a wrap, will you send the payments to the underlying lender on a wraparound?
Really good question. I love that question because I feel like we don't talk about it enough. No, the flat out answer is no, and here's why. My relationship is with you, not Bank of America. You know what I mean? They are not my client. I am only sending payments to whoever is set up with Madison. So with the wrap, it is your responsibility to send that payment to the underlying mortgage. So we have a lot of them recently, and I have this one lender who's got about like 30 of them. He just has a reoccurring ACH out of his bank account that pays the underlying mortgage. At the same time, you can't gauge when these borrowers are actually going to pay. Yes, they may be due on the 1st, but they have a tendency to wait till the 12th. By the time you actually get the payment from Madison, it's past that and you get charged a late fee. So don't 100% depend on that borrower to pay that underlying mortgage, because you never know. And if they miss a payment, you're now behind a month. We will never send that payment to an underlying mortgage. We were only sending it to you.
Question for you. Yeah, that makes really good sense there, Shante, and that's the way it should be. If somebody's using their IRA to fund some deals, will you send payments directly to the IRA account?
That's where we need to send them. So you're going to send, I know Quest, we love Quest. Let's say that that's your custodian. We are going to send the payments directly to them. You have an account there because they have to track on their own end. That stuff we will do. They're not the underlying mortgage. That's the entity that you set up under. It's got to read the same. You'll give us the payment address for them. Granted, they're not our point of contact. That still remains being you, but we will send it to any IRA custodian that you're using. So we work with a lot of them. We send them and we go from there.
If somebody has an investor, will you split the payments up and then send a split to us and then the other half to our investors?
We will, as long as you set that loan up as a split, which would mean that both you and your investor need to be set up. Now, I just did another, webinar for somebody, and the big thing, I think he's actually going to be on this weekend. He didn't realize that. We will, as long as both lenders are actually set up. The reason being is that we can split those payments, and therefore you don't have to worry about the 1099 tax form to your investor. We kind of will handle it on both ends. So we can do that. We will do that. But if it's a 50-50 split, fine, 75-25, whatever the split is, that's what we need. Therefore, you don't have to really worry about anything. They're getting their payment, you're getting your payment.
Love it, trying to automate there for everybody. It's a beautiful thing.
Yep.
Let's see here. Wesley also asked the question. He goes, even though you guys are a servicer, is it a trade platform for an investor that want to sell notes to other investors associated with your company?
Yeah, so it doesn't, our trade platform, our sales desk isn't just, the loans listed there to, for people to buy. They're not all of them are loans at Madison Services. They're loans that are being serviced by FCI, Allied, whoever. We don't make any seller post just their loans with us. A lot of them we are servicing, a lot of them, but a few of them we're not. You can have it listed anywhere else as well. Anyone's able to look at that. Any investor is able to look at that and say, okay, well, this is what I want, and start bidding on that. It doesn't have to, you don't even have to maintain the servicing here. So don't feel like that's an obligation. I do understand, a lot of lenders like to keep their stuff in one spot. But it is something that you can purchase through Madison, facilitate that sale. But they're not all transferred with Madison. You're not forced to have them serviced by us either.
Are you licensed in California for servicing a reperforming loan?
We are currently not taking loans in the state of California. There are about 13 states that we are absolutely not touching right now. There's some stuff going on that we got to double check and things like that. Some states we just never were licensed in, and we don't have lenders who are purchasing notes there. So there are 13 states that if you say, Shante, I want to board a loan in New York, I'm going to tell you no, you're not touching it. Even though we can handle the debt collection side, and that New York is it's a tough state. There's some states we're just not taking, but only 13 out of the 50 I don't think it's that bad, right? We are not 50 state licensed though.
So what's the do you know the issue with California? What's the issue with California and everything?
We're just kind of fixing some auditing stuff and stuff like that. So we're kind of on a halt. I have no idea how long that's going to take. I don't know what's going to happen. Update the correct license. There's a few different licenses in the state of California. I don't handle the licensing with Madison. Kevin does, our president and CEO. So he's working with whoever to make sure that we have the correct one. They're also really expensive. But to make sure that we have the right one to service, because our main office is actually in Reno, Nevada. And there's a difference in what you are required to do if you're in state, specifically in California versus out of state. And obviously our office is linked to Reno, not California. So he's looking into that and making sure that they have all the right information. I know that stuff takes forever. I don't know. I will, of course, update you guys once we can, continue to take loans there. But as of right now, I can't touch them.
No problem. What are the other 12 states? Do you know them off the top of your head?
It is the states we do not take: California, Idaho, Maine, Montana, Nebraska, New Hampshire, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, South Dakota, Washington, D.C., and West Virginia. We are not touching as of recent.
I'm willing to bet that in the majority of those states, you don't have a lot of loans in those states to begin with.
Some states we don't even have any.
Yeah.
So but that state has recently come up to, we need a license. And don't get me wrong, we have gotten licensed in certain states that just because we had a lender and said, hey, I have 100 loans in the state of Vermont. All right, it was worth our while. But we don't see a lot of people originally didn't see people buying in Vermont. And their license requirements were a little up there in price, and it had to kind of be worth our while. It's one thing, we see people buying in Florida, Georgia, Texas, Illinois, Ohio, Indiana, like those are huge popular states, Michigan, which is no problem, Kentucky, Kansas. But when we have one lender with one loan, it's not worth it to maintain that servicing cost. It doesn't even, balance out. Forget Madison, it doesn't balance out the license cost, especially to renew each year as well. We have to get a surety bond for each one. So.
Right. Judith asked, do you handle Massachusetts and Rhode Island?
Yes, we do.
Good stuff there. Good stuff there. Okay, what are questions here we have? Allison, is there a separate fee to split payments to partners?
Your partner is paying that separate fee. You're not. They're going to get charged a performing fee. It's $20. We're maintaining the loan now for both of you, not just one. So that's the same thing with partials. If you guys ever sell partials, I don't know if any of you know anything about that. We have to have that, partial buyer set up, and you guys being the original seller, you still get to see and have eyes on that loan, but we're maintaining it now for two of you. So they'll pay 20. The only thing is they will not pay, they only pay the 20. If there's escrow, you guys split it. You're not both going to get charged for escrow because it's technically one escrow account. So let's say it's $35 or $15 for escrow. You guys are going to pay $750 each instead of paying, unless one of you says, no, I'll take the whole escrow. We've had some lenders who do that as well.
We had a question, if you would mind repeating, and what I'll do is I'll type it in the chat roll here of the states that you're not servicing in currently. What are the states?
California.
California.
Idaho.
Yeah.
Maine.
Yep.
Montana. Nebraska. New Hampshire, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, South Dakota, Washington, D.C., and West Virginia. We are not taking anything new in any of those states.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't see much. I mean, we see a lot in New York, but we know I don't buy in New York because it's just ridiculous. California, obviously, you're working through that because the licensings will change there a little bit. Idaho, we hardly see anything. Maine, we rarely see anything. Montana, there's more cows out there than people for the most part. Nebraska, rare. I've only seen a few there. New Hampshire, I don't see that much. In New Mexico, we occasionally see something.
A few.
Yeah. West Virginia, it's not much. Oregon will occasionally see some stuff, but they've gotten very strict in Oregon in a variety of ways.
Yeah, that's why we actually stopped. And that was a recent one, like within the past 3 weeks. And I was like, Shante, don't take anything new. So.
Well, they want you to be a licensed mortgage broker in Oregon, don't they? I think
Yeah, but their requirements are crazy. So I know Kevin's kind of trying to figure that out because that was a big thing that they have this new license requirement and it's just through the roof. And they're trying to weed out little people like us, little people like you guys being lenders, smaller lenders at first, smaller servicers. Some of these states are just, yeah, see, they're a little crazy. So we don't want to take anything on and get anyone else in trouble or fined or things. It just becomes messy. So.
Now yeah, it can be very messy. And that's why I tell people, like, hey, try to filter it down to, like I said, start with a few states and add from there, figure out the ones where there's deal flow at. And most of the ones you rattled off there, we don't see a lot of deal flow. So it's affecting the majority of people out there. Now, let's talk. You really went above and beyond and brought a special bonus to Note Camp for those, right? You want to talk about Note? And I can pull it up here to share here. So hang on a second. What do you got for our attendees today? What do you got for them?
So I know how expensive being an investor can be. And I know a lot of people run and hide from the fees. They get worried about it. Every servicing, company has fees. The biggest fee that I always get questioned on is, well, Shante, like, why am I paying a boarding fee? Boarding fee is the same thing as a setup fee. What that is, at the end of the day, you're paying for my time. I'm the only one in this company that boards loans, the only person. So there's a lot of loans that I board on a daily basis, regular basis. So what I decided to do was just kind of offer you guys, because I know a lot of you are either looking at notes, bidding on notes, or will be in the very near future, especially knowing that Note Camp's going on right now. So, spend this weekend, pay attention, listen. I saw some of these speakers, they're all amazing. Definitely take down some notes. But I also thought that when you get to the point where you're ready to, purchase a note, I'm going to give you 5 free. If you can purchase 5, I don't know where everyone's starting, but if you purchase 5 at one time and have them transferred to Madison, I will not charge you the $40 late fee. It's $40 per loan. So it's realistically you guys
boarding fee, not late fee.
Sorry, boarding fee. I was looking at the word free and loan at the same time. I will not charge you guys the boarding fee. I will take out of, like my time just to get the loans here. Granted, if there's an escrow setup, if it's an ARM or a HELOC, that's $5 or $15. If at most, that's what you're charged. But if you have a performing, second lien, if you have a performing loan that the borrower is paying escrow outside and it's just contractual or a land contract, as long as you get 5 of them, you guys do not get charged the boarding fee. That is waived. That's a $200 fee. That is basically.
Love it.
So I wanted to offer that to you guys. Just when you send me when you reach out and say, hey, I got some loans to board, you're going to fill out the servicing intake form. You want to send this to me at the same time so I can note that as you guys. This does not go to anybody else. So I will also have an attendee list to make sure that it's just the Note Camp attendees. This does not get to go to any other Note investors. This is specifically just for you guys, just also because I love Scott. But just for you guys to kind of take that off of the front end, because again, there's so much going on and things like that, save you guys some money up front.
Now this is 5 at a time. They can't do 1 this month and 1 in 3 months. It's got to be at one time, right? That makes it
got to be one time at the same time. Granted, they might come from 5 different servicers. That's not your fault. I just need to know that they're all. It's not your fault if the servicer takes 4 months to bring it. But if you could prove that you have it and you're going to board it with us, that's fine. It's not it has nothing to do with the servicer. I'm not going to penalize you guys for that. That's not fair because you don't have control over that and neither do I.
Exactly. And I'll be sending a list of those that attended to Shante, and then I'll be sending that out to everybody at the end on Sunday as a bonus there. But basically $200 in servicing and boarding fees waived there for you guys if you're doing something. And it's not even if you're existing client with Madison Management, that's good.
As long as you're an attending Note Camp 20, you get it. So I don't care if you've been a client of mine for 3-4 years, just yesterday, or brand new. It's for all of you.
That's huge, everybody. Yay, 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 yay. There we go. That's worth the price of admission right there. Before you got that there for you. Now, what you want to jump on the portal? Should we jump on Madison Management and walk people through a few things here the last 10 minutes we got? Take some questions.
I created this little dummy portal a while ago just so that, because it's a question I get asked all the time.
Okay.
So, and our Uh-oh. Hold on, because all of a sudden I can't remember the password.
I couldn't. I don't know. Remember my password. I have to go and reset it all the damn time too.
I'm gonna have to reset that. I just did it too. That's the weird part.
If we need to, I can just pull up the website if that helps and walk through there. So,
Well, the website just kind of shows you what we do. But I just wanted to give you guys a quick glimpse as to what goes on the portal side, so that you don't have to require. I'm just gonna make sure I'm not locked out.
that's fine. Dan Larson or Dave Larson says, yeah, Oregon's expensive. He got fined $15K in Oregon. Wow. Maurice asked a question, so it has to be 5 notes. No, it can be 1 note, Maurice. We're saying up to 5 notes at the same time.
If you only have one, I'll just, if you only end up buying one, I'll still give it to you. It's up to 5, but they have to just be, if you know that you're purchasing like 3 at a time, it's got to be all 3. I will be generous enough and give you guys that. It's not, especially for people who are new.
Yeah.
I don't expect everyone to buy 5.
Yeah. Neil Johnson says, love it. Thank you. That's awesome. And she's resetting the password there for you, everybody. And it's a pretty easy walkthrough portal. You can download statements and documents and take a look at and do a screenshot of where everything's going. And I think the building is, you have also too, if you go to Madison Management, the website, you can see your list of service, the different a la carte costs along the way too, correct, Shante?
Yeah. I don't have access to this.
Okay, that's fine. We'll just pull up the website. Okay.
I have that up if you want me to show it.
Yeah, if you want to do that, sure. Teddy says Shante is awesome. Teddy Powers says Shante is awesome.
Thank you. All right, so you just disabled it. Do you have the portal website up?
No, I can. You may pull it up. I can pull up the website here real fast.
Yeah, because it's just saying it's disabled because of the group.
What, sharing's disabled?
Yeah, so when I click the screen share green button, it says host disabled, participant screen sharing.
Oh, I'll have to fix that real fast here. Okay. Oh, not LinkedIn, Scott Carson. Hang on here. Because I tagged you in a post. There we go. All right. Let me share this. Share screen. Here's the portal for everybody. Basically, here's the website. Okay.
So while you guys are just playing around, if you're not sure, Scott, if you hover over the word investors, a menu drops down, click investor forms. This is where your entity setup forms are actually located. So you don't 100% have to talk to me about it. If you want to just kind of jump the gun and say, hey, while I'm here, I can do it. You need to fill out one of these servicing agreements. If your loan is in North Carolina, do not complete the no collection servicing agreement. I will reject it. So that's just a heads up. That's just kind of what gets you guys set up. I direct everyone to that page. And if you click loan servicing on the top right, just click the word, yeah. Okay. So here's kind of the services we offer. Then there's little tabs that kind of break down the servicing descriptions and fees. So click through that. We do not send you a PDF of our fee schedule. It is always online, just so you guys know. It is always going to be available online. Everything is there. There's no secret, PDF version.
Mm-hmm. And you've also got the portal here. Somebody asked Wesley, I think, about loan sales. If you click here on loan sales, this takes you over to the portal.
Yep. You click buy, and you can kind of browse. You can put in some information. Of course, feel free to inquire more information about the loans. They're very limited. The whole point is that we need you to sign an NDA, which you should always be signing in general when you're looking to buy notes and sell notes and things like that. So there's that as well.
One thing that we didn't talk about, and I know this was a question somebody asked in the survey, if they need a foreclosure attorney, do they have to go find one in the state, or do you have a list of attorneys that you use in every state that you're doing business?
We have a list of attorneys that we use in each state, but I also understand that, this industry is word of mouth, which we love. If there's an attorney that you want to use that we have never used before, by all means, we will use your attorney. If that's someone that you want us to use, just make sure that they're in the state of the property that you're foreclosing on. I had one lender say, like, oh, I want to use this attorney. I'm like, they're located in New York and your properties in Georgia. And they weren't, not like they're just location, they weren't practicing in Georgia, which I thought was weird. So just make sure that they actually can handle foreclosures in the state of your property. So if you don't know, and just, we'll put you with one, but if you have one that you like to use or you've heard great things about and you want to use, just let us know. They might be someone we do use and we just maybe didn't select that attorney for whatever the situation is, but just let us know. You have the right to ask and, go from there, and we'll make sure that we create that relationship with them as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense there too. I was going to ask a question. I just completely went one way, the way the dodo bird out there just going. We got, there's also too, if in the how often are you guys calling out? That was a question as well. How often are you trying to communicate and make right party contact with the borrowers out there? What's some of the things that you guys are doing to maybe help us as investors?
So when a loan is first boarded and it's non-performing, we are supposed to be calling every single day at different times of the day. We want to find out what time, borrowers work, things like that, happen. We get it. They're not always home. People don't answer numbers they don't know. We leave messages. We send letters. We try everything. We try contacting family members to make sure we have the right information. You do also have the ability to order a door knocker. There are a lot of lenders who don't know if their property is vacant or occupied. Maybe that wasn't given to you during your due diligence process or couldn't be confirmed. We try to send somebody out to that property for you, but we won't do that unless you ask us to. That's the one thing we won't do. We're just going to keep calling. We skip trace every borrower. Make sure that they're not in bankruptcy because they are protected, that we cannot be calling to collect on a debt because they are covered or protected by the bankruptcy laws. So we'll let you know. Sometimes lenders don't know that their loan's in bankruptcy. So it's one of the first things we check once the loan's boarded, so that we know before we can call. We call aggressively after a few weeks, though, after like 21 days of us being aggressive, we're going to ask you, do you want to send a door knocker? Because for us to end up just keep calling and calling and calling and no answer, we start to run out of options.
Yeah.
And it's up to you guys. Granted, that's all going to be documented. We'll make sure that mail's not coming back returned as well. And if it does, we'll try to find the most recent address. Not all the time are we provided with the most recent mailing address. But we will call aggressively. We have door knockers that we can send out that physically either can post a letter on the door. They'll take pictures of the properties if that's what you want as well. Or if they can actually knock on the door, talk to the homeowner, get some information from the neighbor. There's times where some door knockers have actually made contact and they literally hand over their phone as they call us. The one cool thing about Madison right now, which is fairly different from, last year, is that our main office is in the state of Nevada. I did not move to Nevada. I born and raised in Jersey. I will probably never move out there. My whole life's here, but we cover a larger time zone frame kind of thing. So my Jersey team, which we have asset managers on the East Coast and West Coast. So it's not just a typical 9 to 5 Eastern Standard Time anymore. It's actually 6 a.m. Pacific time through 5 p.m. Pacific time, which leads us to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we are actually covered almost every legal time zone that we can call borrowers through what we're able to do and collect the debt. So that kind of makes us a little bit different, kind of expand. If we have borrowers that are closer to the West Coast, I try to push those loans with a West Coast asset manager because we can't really call borrowers before 8, 9 o'clock anyway. So just so you guys know, we try to cover that span, and so that someone, we should always be able to get a hold of somebody. So
awesome. Maurice asked the question, which loan portfolio would be best for a new investor? Full collections is the answer for that.
If it's not paying, full collections only. Don't even think about anything else.
Yeah, if it's not.
You can also change them, just so you know. I don't want you to think that once you're full collections, you're stuck. You're not. Once the borrower makes 3 consecutive payments, you're automatically bounced to performing. When the borrower misses 2 months of payments, though, you're also now automatically bounced to full collections. The only servicing program that does not change automatically is the no collections. We are not tracking those payments, and we're keeping record of them. There's no eyes in there. No one's calling this borrower from Madison. That you'd have to request. There's people who need to shelf a loan. Let's say we haven't had luck. You're not ready to take legal action. That's fine. They'll bump it into no collections as long as it's not in North Carolina, and it'll just sit. It doesn't always mean that you're calling, but you still want the compliance side of it. So you can change between them as long as they meet the requirements of what a performing loan should be or what a non-performing loan should be. So you're not stuck there for forever.
Good stuff. Best way to contact you, Shante?
Email. I say email, if, you know, we could always schedule calls. I just sent you guys my email as well. I'll schedule calls, you guys, before anything. My phone's constantly ringing, so it's hard to gauge. You know, being the person at the front gatekeeper, our conversations are not 5 minutes. They're not 5 minutes at all. It's, you know, I want you to ask every question. I want you to, you know, no question's stupid. If I don't have the answer, I will try to tell you where to find it. If it's not something I do, I will try to, you know, help you out that way. But I don't want you to feel like you only have 5 minutes to get through to me as well. So I try to schedule my calls with everybody. Hey, what time works best for you? And go that route. It's easier, it's cleaner. And you know, sometimes it is 5 minutes. It's simple if you kind of already have an idea. But for especially the newer people that really just have some general concerns, and not every servicer is super friendly or has someone to just, Shante, I don't know what I'm doing. That's okay. I like those questions because it also teaches me. And you know, if you don't know it, I guarantee you there's hundreds of other investors who don't know either. And you guys kind of help us, you know, or at least myself, share knowledge that I don't think about because I'm not in your shoes in that aspect, or same thing vice versa. So this industry, it's all about sharing what you know. Network like crazy. That will be your best friend. And it'll get you pretty far. So
Yeah, that's the big thing, is it's important. You know, guys, ask questions if you don't know. There's no dumb questions. The only dumb question is the one that you don't ask. All right. But also be respectful. Don't be bombarding her questions on what is the note, you know, what's my, you know, what can I do? Look, she's a servicer and she does an amazing job. She works with so many great investors. They do such a great job. That's why we have them on here, our preferred servicer of choice. And, you know, we love the customer service there, but also realize too, if Shante hasn't returned your message in 24 hours, give her time. Don't send her an email on Friday and then complain on Monday when she hadn't had a chance to call. We've had a few of those people. We can agree to that, right, Shante?
yeah, I actually set up an automatic away message because it got to a point where I think it's hard. People, you're excited. I don't take it necessarily as like you're badgering you, but you're excited and you should be. You have to understand though, if you're excited and you just bought a note, how many other investors just bought a note? You know what I mean? So think of it like that. And my automatic away message kind of thing that bounces back to you instantly. If you email me directly, you need to give me like 2 to 3 business days. Granted, there are times where I can respond to you within 5 minutes of you sending it, but I can't always promise you that either. So yeah. I need you to give me time and the rest of our staff time as well.
Exactly. And for those, if you're not seeing it in the chat roll, the email is sduffy, Duffy, sduffy@madisonmanagement.net. Out there for you. And Shante, thank you again for coming and delivering. Kat says on here, thank you, Shante. You're awesome. I'm new and you've helped me so much already with my.
I actually have to email her today. So Kat, keep an eye out in the next hour or so.
Good stuff there. Well, Shante, enjoy the rest of your Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Be safe. All right. Stay out of trouble. Man, your little boy's growing up like a weed, isn't he?
Oh my gosh. I haven't seen him. I have not been mommy full time for 2 months because he's not with me because I still have to work. So I'm going to go spend some time with him today and hang out, but he's already 8. I don't know what happened. I'm not sure what time it went.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Well, hey, be safe. And thanks for coming on Note Camp. All right.
Thank you. You guys enjoy. Bye.
Bye. All right, guys.